Alright, so for the chapter 5, okay, if you refer to the book later and to my lecture notes, it's actually about lock and key. It means how the enzyme interact lah. So it's lock and key or induced feed. Okay, dulu masa SPM belajar kan yang enzymatic reaction, kunci dan mangga. Okay, so one enzyme is designed to specific substrate. So only that kind of key can open the lock. Sebab tu dia macam kunci dan mangga. Induced feed ni, it's either the enzyme or the substrate is to force to adapt to the condition of the enzyme ke, itu induced feed. But we will focus on the lock and key, right? If you refer to your textbook, okay, we wanted to describe a reaction rate for an enzymatic reaction. So previously you've learned on CRE I, CRE II, you learned that for a reaction A to B, if it is first order, it will be negative RA. For elementary reaction, A reach PA. So in this case, we want to formulate lah, to derive an equation for enzymatic reaction to get this kind of reaction rate. So in this chapter, we didn't use negative RA, but we use RS. That's why in your book, it's negative RS. What does RS mean? So S is actually your substrate. Okay. For biochemical reactions, we use substrate. Okay. So the catalyst is actually enzyme lah. So we wanted to describe how does the rate law that involve enzymatic enzyme as a catalyst. Okay. So, right. So that's why we will use catalyst maintain. So if you refer to your textbook, there will be equation 726, which is okay, minus Rn equals to V max. Okay. S ni is supposed to be a concentration. This concentration. Concentration of substrate. Okay, V max Km plus S. Okay. So when you plot the graph based on this one, based on this equation, you will see that let's say you plot the graph of your negative Rs versus sometimes if you refer to the book, it written there Cx. Sometimes also they use this one, meaning concentration of the substrate. Okay, right. So you will get a curve, right? Then the curve will go stagnant. So from the curve, is actually you can determine. The important thing in this equation is to determine your Vmax and Km. Macam previously that you learned in reaction 1 kan. If you know it is a first order reaction, kan? Dia adalah ln Ca naught over Ca versus T. And you get something, a linear line. Right? Then you wanted to if it is first order, okay, so you get Kca, right? So you wanted to know what is the K. So the K can be defined from here, from the slope. Ini masih reaction 1 dulu. Okay, so in this case, you wanted to solve for Vmax and Km because this is a part of the model used to track the enzymatic reaction. So we have to determine that. So if you refer to the book, okay, Vmax is actually somewhere here, your maximum curve ni lah. So this one would be your Vmax, right?
And S is less than 1 because it's concentration.
S, not necessarily lah. Concentration can mole per liter, milligram per liter. Okay, normally in before this previous, we learned that as concentration punya unit is mole per liter kan. But since this is like biochemical reactions kan, normally biochemical reaction the concentration is low lah. So that's why we use milligram per liter, millimole per liter kan. So it's very small lah. Okay, but it doesn't matter lah. Okay, as long as you know later on how to determine the Vmax and Km. So one of your main objectives is to determine this. Okay, so if you plot the graph based on this equation, we'll get something like this, right? With the curve, and the Vmax is the maximum point yang dah start mendata ni kan, in the graph. So you can determine Vmax. And your Vmax and your Km is actually half of your Vmax. So let's say this is 10. So half of Vmax is 5. So somewhere here. So this is your Vmax. Good. Okay? Vmax. And Vmax, Km, sorry. This is Km. So this is half of Vmax lah. Okay? So, but somehow, okay, you know, like this kind of graph, curve kan, it's not a friendly graph kan. It's difficult to draw a curve rather than a straight line. And this might not be very accurate compared to a straight line. Okay, so when it's not that accurate, it will affect your Km and Vmax. So what we're going to do to have a more accurate Vmax and also Km. So that's why we use line Rydberg plots. Okay, if you look in your book, okay, okay, let's see. Let's have a look. Example 7.3 tu kan. Okay. Given to you in example 7.3, okay, urea plus urease. Urease is the enzyme. Urea is the substrate lah in this case. Right. So given you the concentration of urea and also the reaction rate, negative R urea, that is negative RS lah. Okay. So you can solve this. This will determine mechanism maintain parameter, which is Vmax and Km. So you can solve this by using mechanism maintain lah. But another way to do is by also using line Rydberg. So line Rydberg is actually, okay, you turn to the next page. Okay, E7-3.2. Turn to the next page. That one is line Rydberg. So highlight that. You will be using that. Okay. Right. So if this is like you linearize, the line Rydberg is actually a linearized form of mechanism maintain. Okay. Okay tak? Dia kan dulu kita belajar maths kan? When we want to have a straight line, okay, so we will linearizekan dia menjadi 1 over RS kan, right? So dia linearizekan the mechanism maintain equation becoming line Rydberg, lin ke line ke whatever you want to pronounce it lah. Okay, so it will be ni, you linearizekan dia, so it become 1 negative RS equals to 1 Vmax plus Km Vmax kan. Saya tak hafal pun. Lepas tu 1 over Cx. Right.
Soalan biasa dia suruh buat, kalau dia nak linear, kita tukar pada linear, kita kena buat dua.
Dia tak suruh tukar you sendiri. Dia suruh determine. Determine Km and Vmax. Okay, dia tak suruh pun guna apa. It's your decision. You can use this mechanism maintain, but as I said earlier, you percayalah nak plot graph straight tu pun you fikir 10 minit satu. Skala X, skala Y tu Kan? Nak lagi ni. Curve. Ni curve actually is a curve. So that's why we wanted you to linearize the equation so that you only plot a straight line. So based on this equation, okay, so you will get something, a linear graph, what we call a linear graph. So this is your CS. So satu lah. So sini akan jadi your 1 over Vmax. So your keturunan, your slope is Km over Vmax. Okay. So normally we will determine first 1 over Vmax. Once you get the Vmax, then you put it in the slope and then you will get your Km. Intercept.
KM.
Kan? Ni macam YMX plus C. Kan? This is Y, this is C, this is your M, this is your X. Okay? Alright. Okay, so let's have a look on the example, page 402. Okay, just now it gives to you the concentration of urea and also the reaction rate of urea. So in order for you to solve for KMVM, you wanted to KM slope. Dia bukan sama dengan slope. KMVM is KM over VM is actually equal to slope lah. So slope is equal to KM over Vmax. Okay, you determine slope from the graph. You get this thing. So Vmax you get from the intercept. So you can determine your KM. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You dapat determine tu mostly that one. Tapi you kena plot graph. Betul-betul lah. That is 15 marks. Huh? Yes. As simple as that.
Roughly.
Yeah. That's why I say. Okay. Right. Simple je. Okay. And equation pun. If you look at the book, dia ada Eadie-Hofstee, dia ada Hainsworth. That is also linear graph. But just use line Riverberg. Janganlah ngada-ngada nak bagi kat I nanti Eadie-Hofstee kan. Okay,
So
dah.
focus line ni.
Boleh kot lah kan, korang cabar kan. Baru nak study masa exam. Masa nak exam tu baru nak study. Buatlah pula Eadie-Hofstee ni. Tak payahlah. Okay, so I'm telling you focus on line Riverberg, okay? Right, so you can determine both. Okay. Right, if you cannot get this, there's a small notes on your left hand side, kan? Kan kat situ ada graph kecil tu kan? Dia dah tunjuk. Right. Okay, I'm done with that. Okay. Dah. So, inhibitor. Ni settle lah? Okay. Okay. The last part. Okay. So, inhibitor. What is inhibitor?
Nak jangan
Ini orang kerja dengan kopi Jerman. Dia sudah dah nak kerja Roman.
Memang
Inhibit. Dia mati kan? Inhibitor. It stop your reaction. Okay, inhibitor. Okay, so enzyme is a kind of catalyst. Okay, so sometimes reaction yang kita nak product tu, you kena stop the reaction, then only it produce the product that you want. Macam penicillin macam tu kan. Okay, I tak tahu sangat lah biochemical ni, tapi this kind of line Riverberg, mechanism maintain, all to describe the reaction kinetics lah for biochemical processes. So inhibitor ni is something yang opposite kepada enzyme tu lah. Alright, so that's why we classify the inhibitor into 3 types. Okay, whether it is competitor, non-competitive, competitive, non, and ion. Okay, So what's the difference? Nama macam sama je kan? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so,
Recycle. Belilah baru.
okay. 410 Dia start dengan competitive inhibition Okay. So if you refer to the competitive inhibition in your book, okay, it will be okay, it will be a graph yang macam siapa ikut sekejap you print mine kan. We will use the same thing. We will use the lane with a verb semua. Okay. So nanti saya padam ni
Oh, campur semua.
tak, dia dua graph because of one is the enzyme punya graph. Another one is inhibitor. So we wanted to compare. Okay. What kind of inhibitor is that? By plotting the graph. Is it competitive or none or on or un? Okay. Okay, tak semestinya. dia tak ada macam tu. If you look at the slide, this part is important. Yang ni, table ni. Okay, table ni. Go table ni Okay. Dalam buku ni pun boleh je nanti. The thing is that dalam buku ni ada KI. Okay, dalam yang the one that given to you, there's no KI. KI tu macam dia KM, tapi sebab for inhibitor dia KI lah. Okay, so if KI is not given in the question, you can assume it is equal to 1. Okay, right. Kalau, okay, sebab benda ni is based on mechanism of enzyme yang lock and key. Contoh katalah this is your okay, you look here, this is your enzyme ni enzyme enzyme itulah enzyme. So lock key and lock ni maknanya the active site yang the part where the substrate will attach, okay, will fit on the specific substrate. Okay, so if you look lebih kurang dia punya ni kan bentuk dia ni lebih kurang dengan tempat enzyme ni But inhibitor also have like the similar shape kan, kurang juga kan, so it can go in as well. So that's why we call it competitive. Dia punya tu sama. Alright. So if that's the case, okay, sebab tu mechanism it will be, okay, kalau dalam buku ni dia ada cakap ni. Ni yang reaction step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tu. Okay, tapi kalau dalam slide ni kita dah mudahkan lah. So dia E plus S ni enzyme plus substrate. Kan, dia tak adalah Borbon ke apa punya ke formula pula E atau pula S kan. So it will produce enzymatic complex, ES enzyme substrate complex, okay, and then only it will produce enzyme plus product. Okay, so here pada masa yang sama, the enzyme kan, enzyme ni can also react with inhibitor, okay, produce EI. Nampak tu? Dia ada dua jalan. Kan? So, these two will compete with each other. Right? So, bila you plot the graph, let's say for Michaelis Menten tu yang ada curve tu lah, RS versus S atau CS lah. Okay? That you will get something curve macam tu. Okay? Satu lagi dia curve macam ni. Okay. Dia akan bagi bila Michaelis Menten dia tak nampak sangat, dia akan sama VM. Okay, dalam buku dia buat samakan VM. Okay, tapi kalau lim babak, you plot, okay, 1 over RS, 1 over S, right? You will get, okay, ni dia punya pintasan ni lah. Okay. Ni kan, Vmax dia, 1 over Vmax. Satu lagi, inhibitor pun, dia akan dapat Vmax yang sama. Faham? Nak tahu dia adalah jenis kompetitif, dia share the same Vmax intercept. Dua-dua will produce a linear line lah, a linear graph. Okay? Right, that is that is for competitive reaction. Boleh? So nanti nak determine dia punya ini semua method yang sama je, KM, VM boleh dapat daripada slope. Dapatlah Vmax dapat slope kan. Untuk KI pun benda yang sama juga. We'll do the same thing. Ni. Okay. So if the question tak bagi you KI, boleh je kira daripada slope ni. Okay. Tapi normally kita tanya what kind of inhibitor it is. Okay. What kind of inhibitor you need to plot. So it will give you two data lah, macam maybe CS yang berubah adalah CS kan. Change with time kan. So dia akan bagi CS1 enzyme yang menggunakan enzyme A. Okay. CS2 dia tak cakap lah inhibitor, tapi dia bagilah nama pelik-pelik tu. So tapi dia cakap lah enzyme yang mana yang you kena compare kan. Tapi yang lain-lain tu dia suruh you compare which is what kind of relationship does the inhibitor to the enzyme. Yes. So if you plot, so later kalau dia ada dua set of concentration, you will have something like this lah. If you plot and then you have things like this, sharing the Vmax with that enzyme. Ini you punya point of reference lah. So it is competitive. Right. So next is
Apa yang bersilang tu apa?
ni Vmax.
Plot
Plot
atas graf.
atas graf yang sama jangan asing-asing. Kalau tak boleh. You need to plot on the same graph, then only you compare.
Graf yang satu lagi yang awal tu tadi.
Ya, plot.
Lain buat ni.
Ya. Kan? Nanti dia ada data ni. Ada data, this time. This is your concentration CS1. Betul tak? Bukan CS1, CS je lah. CS untuk A kan? Betul. So ni CS untuk type benda B. Don't know kan? So dia ada 0, 5, 10, 15, bla bla kan? Terus ni ada berapa? 0, 2, 9. So ini adalah 2. So you plot lah, kalau ada 3, you plot on the same graph. Don't ever plot on separate graph. The reason to plot on the same graph so that you can in the end compare what kind of inhibitor is that. Okay? Right. So, competitive settle. Okay. Kita tahu the competitive, dia intercept sharing the same intercept. Enzyme punya line tu would be your main reference. Okay. Yang inhibitor tu yang ada macam-macam, ada beberapa line inhibitor lah. Tapi when you compare, you akan compare dengan enzyme. Nanti you tengok summary dekat page 415. Well, go to page 415, figure 7.13. You tengok situ it's minus 1 over negative RS versus 1 over S. You tengok in one graph, kan? Dia ada non-competitive and itu competitive. Yang last kali no inhibition. Enzyme. No inhibition tu enzyme sahaja. You will need to plot that one first. We will need plot that one first. Itu yang macam A lah. Okay, question 3A. Selalunya macam tu. You plot the enzyme reaction. Dia 15 markah dia tak semesti dia suruh plot satu je, dia suruh plot 3-3 ni dalam satu graph baru dapat 15. Gitu lah. Okay, so so you tengok kalau kompetitif dapat KM kan. Tapi kalau dia uncompetitive, slope yang sama. So maknanya Vmax slope sama, KM VM over Vmax dia sama. Parallel. Tapi kalau yang non tu, dua-dua pun tak. Intercept pun tak sama, slope pun tak sama. Then you know that is non-competitive. Faham? Ini kan, figure yang last kali ni, figure 7.13 ni, nanti kan kalau you blur kan, you get blank, you tengok figure ni je. Tak, you lukis-lukis dulu, you settlekan lukis tu, make sure you lukis dapat garis lurus
Kalau dapat lengkung tu maksudnya
you salah lukis lah.
Lain juga plot lah. Dia nak lukis pakai lengkung.
Dia sepatutnya tak dapat lengkung lah. I suruh you plot using line Weaver-Berg tu. Line Weaver-Berg tu mesti 1 over something lah. 1 over RS, 1 over CS. So when you do that, you supposed to get a straight line. Okay? Kalau kau dapat yang tahap apa punya tu, maknanya kau yang salah plot. Okay? I would like to warn you. Kita nak buat sini. Ni kertas graf. Dia plot graf besar ni. Besarlah. Besarlah lagi. Okay? Okay? Right? Don't do that. Okay? Right. So, kalau faham sebenarnya tu je lah. Ada lah.
So buat satu je lah. Kan kita buat satu je. Based on soalan tu.
Betul? Ya. Dia jarang lah dia negatif ni. Tapi you janganlah when you plot the graph kan, you rapat sangat. Katalah this is your graph paper kan, janganlah kat ujung ni you plot, tengahlah sikit kan. So ni bawah tu supaya kot lah dia ada intercept kan.
Dia punya concentration dengan negatif hari itu dia bagi habis.
Bagilah. Bagi macam ni, macam soalan ni.
Soalan yang boleh kita refer.
Yang paper E731 kan. Surat 402.
Tak. Ni 371 ni dia tukar. Yelah betul.
Dia dah bagi C urea dengan negatif RA.
Tak. Ini satu. Ni bila you nak plot satu data je enzyme.
Nanti dia bagilah.
Nanti dia bagi you.
Inhibitor punya sekalian.
Sorry. Saya salah. Maksudnya CS dengan RS. Sorry. So this is supposed to be your, patutnya ni CS lah. Ini your negative RS. Ni CS, ni negative RS.
Okay, dapat satu.
So kalau dia nak tanya lagi satu, selalunya dia dah siap tanya, dia dah siap buat data siap dah. So this is negative RS 2. Setakat ni saya pernah tengok 3 dalam satu graf.
Itulah dia adalah.
So kalau dia kompetitif, you tengok mekanisme. Kadang-kadang dia sambung bahagian B tu there's mekanisme dia. So ni mekanisme kan open book. Kan? Kau tulis je lah yang dalam ni lah. Yang tu, reaction. Contoh for example, page 41.
Step tu.
Step tu, 410. Reaction step tu lah. 1 sampai 5. Tu mekanisme dia lah. Mechanism of the inhibitor and also the enzyme. Itu kalau kata tiba-tiba kau dapat jawapan dia adalah competitive, so this is this mechanism lah. Okay? Right. Kalau Okay, uncompetitive ni dekat page non-competitive dulu mixed inhibition. Dia kan, I would advise you untuk inhibitor punya, inhibition punya notes kan, better refer my slide. Sebab yang buku ni dia ada KI. So nanti you confuse. So you refer to my slide yang ni macam Madek dah print out. So nampak straightforward je ambil. Tak ada KI pun. Bukanlah saya suruh abaikan KI tu, tapi normally KI tu tak diberi pun dalam soalan. You can assume dia equals 1.
KI tu ada macam.
Pun. Okay, kita dah summarize. Okay. Right. So that's it. Can we move to chapter 4? Revision class kan? Okay. Chapter 4. Right. What should you know? Chapter 4. Okay. I'm not going to give you what's coming out from the exam. Saya fokus apa yang perlu tahu lah kan. Right. Okay, chapter 5 settle. Okay. Now chapter 4. Right, chapter 4 RTD. 4 RTD. Okay. Right. Nah. Okay, dalam ni. Okay, kalau chapter 4 RTD, okay, they were given you a set of data. A set of data, contoh time dengan concentration. Okay. So, contoh 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Contoh lah. Contoh nak now ni. Okay. So, I will give you 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 6, 5, 0. Okay. So, kita sebenarnya untuk RTD ni yang perlu ET. Macam mana nak dapatkan ET? Lepas tu, dah dapat ET, you will apply it into residence time. Kan? Dah dapat residence time, maybe you wanted to find for variance. Okay? Sigma square. Okay? Standard deviation is sigma lah. Tapi untuk final jarang lah kita tanya ni. Jarang sebab ada lagi banyak benda kita nak tanya. Okay. Ini lagi susah-susah. Kalau yang ni senang je sebenarnya. Right. And also we wanted to know based on the PM what's ideal vector or non-ideal. Okay. Right. So how can we do that? By comparing your tau with your PM. In a closed system, you know that your tau is to V over V naught. This is volumetric flow rate, this is volume. Kalau you lupa tau is this is logik akal fikiran. Saya memang tak galak student hafal lah. Kalau hafal lah kan, better. So V is volume meter cube kan. Volumetric flow rate meter cube per second. Kadang-kadang student salah, dia buat V kali not, this is what I call silly mistake lah. Okay, so itu the first part, right? And then how we can proceed from having PN and ET into calculating your X bar. Why do we want the X bar mean conversion? Because say in your rector, okay, this is your PFR or PVR, flow in, okay, flow out, okay, there will be a different X kan, X1, X2, X3 di setiap point of the rector, right? So macam ni kita nak tahu what is actually the conversion of the rector. So that's why kita panggil dia X bar. So X bar ni, how we determine that? We have two, segregation model, okay, and also maximum mixedness. But in your scope, you only focus on segregation model. Which X bar adalah apalah? Nanti you akan jumpa ni. X3, darab. Okay, so this one, segregation model, dia assume macam ni, perlakuan fluid goes into the reactor macam perlakuan dia macam batch, act as a batch, kan? So that's why if you refer to your book, okay, yang ini nanti dia akan apply to first order, second order. Adalah third order semua, you kena, you boleh lah terbitkan sendiri kan. Tapi normally kita fokus first second ni lah. So, kalau you tengok segregation model, dia ada XP. Nanti. So, macam mana nak cari XP ni? Kita tengok ni. Okay, so ni summary dia. Right, so now I will go to the first part of chapter 4. Okay, sebab revision kan? Right. Okay. So, this one question, okay, it can ask you from determining your ET to TM to variance and finally to ST. Satu question, satu set data ni boleh sampai ST. Okay, so this paper it will be developed lah, kan? So, okay, let's say normally we will ask you the TM because TM is the most important lah. You nak tahu what is your residence time, your mean residence time of your reactor, kan? So from that mean residence time, then only you know whether your reaction or your reactor is working well or not. Okay, so RTD macam saya kata dulu, kita bukan macam yang RTD chapter ni dia, it's not about we learn on A plus B dapat C, no. We want to produce the rate law, no. It's about diagnosing the reactor based on data. We panggil tracer data, right? So tracer data tu akan gambarkan your reactor okay ke tak, right? So so you nak cari TM for the first thing. So if you refer to your textbook, TM is actually T dot T. Ni tolong jangan salah, tolong jangan buat mistake. Ni boleh score ni. Kalau saya jadi you, saya akan score soalan chapter yang tadi tu 5. Okay, dan chapter ni. Okay, tapi kena make sure you selesaikan dalam masa paling banyak 40 minit lah. Kalau 1 jam you selesaikan ni, you tak jawab soalan tu tak berguna juga. Sebab one question only 30 minutes kan? Satu soalan 30 minit. So you spend pakai 1 jam, you tak sempat nak jawab soalan lain pun guna juga kan? 2 jam je. Sila ingat 2 jam je. PKF 3432. 2 jam je. Okay? Right. Dia actually subjek ni dia banyak sangat topik. Compare reaction, sama lah dengan reaction 1. Tapi kita dah minta pun tak dapat kan untuk increasekan dia punya masa. So, macam je lah. Okay. So, nak find TET. So, in order, bila we want to solve this, you kena kali dululah. Okay. In order for you to solve ni guna Simpson's rule, you need to find your ET. That's why the first column is ET. Okay, so ET adalah what? CT over kamiran 0 to infinity CT dt. 10. So you need to solve this one first. Ni tolonglah jangan bagi error. Okay, contoh misalnya ada 1, 2, 3. Okay, ni ada berapa selang yang sama? 2 kan? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Kan? So this is 1H. Kan? This one. Kan? Dia panggil H lah selang tu kan? Tak tahu lah dia panggil apa. So this one is second H kan? H2 lah. Ni 4 kan? Sama dengan 4. Ni H1 sama dengan 1. Kan? Dulu Firdaus pernah tanya, boleh tak kita ambil 0, 4, 8, 12? 0, 4, 8, 12 kan? You tengok kalau maksimum dia dekat 8, oh boleh lah, okey lah. Faham? Sebab sebenarnya dia akan plot, okay, it's T kan? This is CT. So it will give you something like this. Okay, ini 8 tu kat sini kan? Paling tinggi adalah 8 kan? 8. Kalau you ambil, maknanya you kena kira the area under the curve. That's why we're using Simpson's method. Okay, so kebetulan you ambil macam tu, 0, 4, 8, 12 ni. 8 tu kat sini, masuk. Okay lah, fine. Boleh. Kan? Tapi, kalau you ambil, katalah data tu adalah 0, 2, 3, 6, 3, 9, You ambil 0, 4 dan 8 kan? You tengok maksimum 9 tu kat situ. Faham tak? 9 tu dekat atas ni. Tapi you tak ambil sebab you ambil 0, 4, 8 kan? So you ambil 7. You dah potong lagi. So ni dah tak ada. Error lah. Okay? Kalau you nak buat macam ni, you kena fikir tu dulu. Okay? Kalau you tak bagi data banyak tu ni pun. Ni soalan saya. Saya bagi tak banyak. Rasalah kot. Okay. Rasanya satu selang selang yang sama je. Sebab I don't want to, I know that you know mathematics. This is reaction. Okay, I don't want to test your mathematics. I want to test your reaction. Okay. That's why CRE I, CRE II kita open book. Okay, kita bukan nak test you hafal ke tak apa. Kita nak tahu you know the knowledge or not. Okay, right. Okay, back to here. Kita tak nak pakai data merah ni. Okay, so make sure you calculate that. If you calculate ni, integration of CT ni using, I tak tahu, maybe you guna berapa point, 5, 7 ke kan. It's up to you. Kalau dia ada error pun berapa persen je. Okay. But you need to use the same Simpson's method when you calculate ET kan. Sebab ET ada ni kan nanti kan. Still kena selesaikan juga. M nanti X bar. Jangan yang mula you ambil 5 point. Second kira TM you ambil 7 point. Kau suka you je. Cannot. Okay, you kena konsisten lah. Right? Okay. So kalau you lost pun you boleh refer je. Step contoh buku tu sama je. Semua kena laju lah you kira. Soalan ni is just the matter you laju sikit, kena laju. Tapi dia matematik je sebenarnya. Okay? Right. So once you get your ET, meaning ET ni adalah CT ni over kamera ni kan. Let's say your CT is equals to 50. Katalah contoh. So your ET kosong lah kan. Betul tak? Sebab kosong. So ET yang kat dua adalah 1 over 50. Kan ni 1 over 50. Ni 2 over 50. Faham? Sebab ni kamera CT tu contoh, saya beri contoh. Saya punya kamera 0 to infinity CT tu is actually 50. Saya kira the Simpson's method, saya dapat 50. Okay, dapat ni, kolom ni. Faham tak? Right. Okay. So So dah settle ET. Okay. Kita nak kira TM kan? So TM. Okay. TM is actually T darab EP. Nampak? Dia boleh lah kolom sebelah dia. So, ni T darab EP ni kosong. Faham? Ni 1 darab EP ni 1/50 apa? 1/50 jugalah. Kan? Ni 2 darab 2/50. 4/50. Faham? Kita follow ni je. Formula ni je. Settle lah sampai bawah. So, you nak tahu TM, you kena guna system method, selesaikan untuk TM. Faham? Nah kan? Baru okay? Okay. So, TM settle. Right.
Sebelah dia tu T darab EP.
T darab EP. Ni saya bagi contoh lah kan tadi. Contoh, kamera 0 to infinity, EP is equal to, dah selesaikan guna system method, dapat 50. Okay. Ni use reasons. Okay. Right. Dapat? Okay. Same goes variance. You follow je formula variance tu. Variance saya tak fokus lah Right. Okay, next we go to ni lah. Yang sebelah ni. Okay. So, mean conversion.
Jadi maksudnya dia 2 kali function lah kan? Yang function yang pertama untuk dapat
CP. Yes.
pada function yang kedua TM.
Dapat lah TM. Faham? Okay. So, dia stop kat situ. Kan? Selalunya A macam tu lah. Selesaikan EP dan TM. Contoh soalan. Saya nak bagi tahu soalan tu. Selalunya. I seriously I tak ingat dah soalan pasir tu. Soalan kita buat. Tempat kita buat bulan 2 tu.
Sebab tu tak disimpan.
Boleh. Kita tak ada masa nak tengok. Okay. Ada dalam laptop kau tapi memang tak ni. Right. So, okay. So bila dia dapat TM tu, selalunya macam B tu dia akan tanyalah. Macam soalan test budak-budak baru ni kan. Kan saya ada tunjuk dalam kelas kan. So B tu dia akan tanya, as an engineer, you sense that the reactor maybe face some problem. Okay, sensing from the tracer data. Prove whether the assumption of the engineer is right or not. Something macam tu lah bunyinya. So how are you going to prove? So you find your TM. So dia akan bagi, kalau dia tak bagi you tau, dia akan bagi you volume and also volumetric flow rate. So you can define your tau from ni lah. Okay. So when you want to know whether your assumption, the engineer punya assumption ke ataupun nak tahu the reactor working ideally or not, cari dah dulu tau ni. Kalau tau ni, okay, dia 3 kebarangkalian je. Okay. Your tau maybe besar daripada TM. So your tau maybe sama dengan TM. Atau your tau maybe more than TM. So when you plot curve ET tu, you tak payah plot pun. Ini dalam buku tu. Tak ada plot-plot you tak payah nak practice graph plot-plot ni. Okay. So ni kalau ada plot ET versus T kan. Okay. Kalau you dapat dia pulse input tu, dia akan bentuk pulse macam tu. So ni macam ideal condition. So your ideal condition, this is your tau. Okay. Okay. Ataupun kalau tak cek B over B not pun, initially 7 tahun dulu, the tau is like this. Okay. Kalau sekarang pun like this is working ideally lah. So it can be something like this. Okay, so your tau is your tau 1 is like that. Okay, or perhaps it may be something skewed like that. So this is your tau 3. Okay, so ni macam ni. Faham? So ideally is tengah lah. Dia punya curve tu kat tengah. Dia tak ada skip macam tu kan. Right. So soalan macam ni kan. Soalan kebat tapi sebenarnya senang je nak fikir. Nak tahu ideal ke tak, kalau tak sama maknanya dia non ideal lah. Tapi nak tahu mana satu dia. Okay. So kalau yang macam ni, the tau is lesser than ni kira TMU lah, TM1 kan. TM1 ni TM2, ni tau. So if your TM1, TMU adalah smaller than tau, okay. Macam mana dia smaller? Smaller sebab ni kalau ini small, atas small kan? Atas kecil kan? Kalau bawah tetap atas kecil kan? So ni akan turun. So yang mengakibatkan volume akan rendah lah. So volume problem adalah dead volume. Maknanya you punya reaktor masuk ni tadi volume dia 10 liter, keluar 9. Ada yang tertinggal. So it affect your volume of the reactor. So we call it dead volume. That's why you get your tau lesser. But if it is bypass or channeling will be about macam leaking ke, kan? Dia affect the mana flow rate. Okay. Kalau tau tu besar daripada TM tu besar daripada tau, meaning kan? Meaning apa yang dia affect kat sini? Inilah. So patutnya masuk tu adalah katalah 5 liter per second. Kan? Tapi bila detect kat sini maybe 4 liter per second lah. Dia dah leaking ke, ada yang tak masuk ke kan. Right? Okay. So bypass channeling, it affect the volumetric. Sebab tu dia macam ni tau, ni kita panggil bypass lah kan. Bypass, kalau dalam buku tu kita panggil dia tau SB. Tau. Ini dead volume. BV. So dia panggil tau SB. System dead. Okay. So dead volume tu selalu yang how you can tackle this problem. Higher mixing, higher flow rate, kan, regular maintenance. Kalau volumetric yang affect volumetric flow rate tu, mungkin you can check your orang-orang plant selalu tahu kot, kan, ada leakage, maybe your meter gauge tak betul, kan, meter gauge sense okay dia tapi sebenarnya ada leaking dah. Okay, so meter gauge meter tu rosak lah. Okay. So that is the first part of chapter 4. Right? Okay, how about determining your X bar, mean conversion. Right? So for mean conversion, okay, formula dia ni kan, XT darab PT. Okay, what's the difference between the mean conversion yang segregation model? Okay, ni segregation model lah, ni untuk segregation model. Kalau ayat tu dia tulis determine mean conversion using segregation model, then only use this concept. If no words segregation model, you don't have to use this. Yang tak ada perkataan segregation model tu maybe yang determine the mean conversion using ideal PFR. Kan, ideal PFR, ideal CSTR, ideal batch. That one is like the one I explained in the lecture note in the video. So ada contoh tu kan, contoh Yang senang, contoh yang susah tu. Okay. So kalau dia kata segregation model, you kena ikut ni. Konsep ni. Right. So in this concept, you need to determine first your XT. Kan? So the next column to do is XT. Cuba nak buat XT ni. Okay. So you have to look at the question. Okay. So the question maybe lah kan. Selalunya dia akan cakap what kind of fraction order. First order, second order kan. Katalah dia first order. First order fraction. Okay. Tak kisahlah kalau segregation model, tak kisahlah. Dia nak CSTR ke, PSR ke, batch ke, dia tetap guna kalau XT first order is 1 negative A T. Ni first order. Kalau second order boleh tak orang lupa saya ingat lah. XT sama dengan 1 plus K T A not T kan. Over XT lah. Ingat ada tak? Lepas tu 1 plus OI. Tak apa, korang open book. Next week salin contoh salin formula betul lah. Okay, faham? Ini first order, ni second order. Okay, second order. So if the question say determine the conversion using segregation model. Ada perkataan segregation model. Lepas tu kita tengok dalam soalan tu dia bagi apa first order, second order. Tak adanya third order. Sebab dalam buku tu ada first dengan second order je. Dia sebenarnya dia kena derive. Tapi dalam buku tu dia dah tolong you. Lepas ni, your job is to find second order dalam tu betul-betul. Begini lah ni. Betul dalam ni. Okay. So if it is first order, so you buat lah. So, study 1 negatif. Okay. So dia bagi you reaction order kan? Mesti dia kena bagi you reaction rate constant. Okay. So untuk this column, masuk dalam nilai tu 1 exponential negatif KT. Exponential kosong berapa? 1. Kan? So ni 1 tambah 1? Kosong. So go for this one. So this will be 1 minus katalah K tu ambil lah 0.5, so dia negatif 0.5 darab 1. Faham? K tu dia akan bagilah. Dalam ni saya tak ada bagi. Saya bagi contoh je. 0.5. Apalah. Sebenarnya ni
order. Cek. Yang apa? Tahu tu? T tu bukan tahu.
Tak tahu tu lah. Tahu tu kita dah habis kan tu. Habis saya nak buka pasal ni.
Yang tahu tu untuk apa?
Tahu mana? Tahu tadi tu yang ni untuk tahu your reactor is running ideally or not. Faham? Okay. Dia yang diagnose problem tu, dia mula-mula kena kira T, M, lepas tu diagnose. Lepas tu komputer ni, kalau ikut flow dalam that chapter. Boleh? Jam. Kan? Okay. Kalau dia cakap perkataan segregation model. Kalau dia tak sebut segregation model, you don't have to use that. You use, kalau buku you tu, katalah, you kata find the conversion in ideal PFR for first order. Ideal, lah. Okay, kan itu dah. Ideal PMR. Dia tak ada cakap pun segregation. Okay, ideal. So first order. Tak, dia tak sama. Dia tak sama. Sebab ni arti dia. So So dia punya formula ada dalam buku tu. Dia adalah X sama dengan 1 negatif exponential K tau. T untuk batch. Sekejap. Ni apa ya? Ni boleh padam kan? Ni. Apa ni padam ni? Boleh?
Doktor tak buat algoritma.
Ini tak algoritma ni. Algoritma ni lah. Cek satu-satu. Sebab tu saya prefer kalau you guys answer this question, you do it horizontally, vertically. Ada suka buat buku buat vertical, buat horizontal kan. Saya prefer macam ni sebab dia akan dia bulat macam tu kan. Ikut you lah. Tapi saya yang marking. Dah bagi saya pening. Ya, saya memang mencarut je malam tu. Saya tak tahu nak sudur kesian dia. Ada yang ambil gambar tangan, I don't know why. Sakit hati betul aku.
Orang macam ni ambil gambar macam ni.
Okay?
Silau, saya.
Before the test, we already we already give them the SOP, detail out the SOP. You need to save your file as your ID number, your section. Maknanya you nak save tu K02, lepas tu ID you. Ada juga tak save macam tu. Geram sungguh. Lepas tu berterabur lah dalam drive aku tu. Kau imagine kita orang nak tanda tu tengok komputer tau. Kan kita nak print satu kan. Kalau macam I, okay. Walaupun I pun dah tua. Kan 42, okay. You can imagine Mak Sudo tak? Kesian dia. I tengok dia kan. Okay, dia macam hari tu dia tak. Dia just discover we can actually use the PDF pen. Before this you don't know. Okay. And then lagi best dia punya laptop tu adalah touchscreen. Wah, kalau dapat laptop touchscreen sedap, sok-sok saja. So yelah, profesor memang macam tu kan, dia konvensional sikit. Macam kesian jugalah. I don't know lah. Saya memang boleh naik hangin lah. So bila kita naik hangin tu saya kena berhenti dah kan. Ambil sembahyang. Okay. Right, we're back to here. Mana tadi? Dalam program kan? Okay, no. Segregation model dah. So kalau kita cakap ideal rector kan? Kalau dia tak ada segregation punya keywords tu. So ideal rector, it can be your batch. Okay. PFR, CSTR. Okay. Jadi tiga ni dia dalam buku tu dengan lamina lagi tak payahlah. So ni order of your reaction. Okay, first order, second order. So kalau ideal batch vector, X dia sama dengan 1, okay, T. Batch kan T kan? Batch vector. When you learn in reaction 1 is about time. Lagi lama dia duduk dalam batch tu, lagi banyak conversion. Betul? Right. But for PFR it's not T, it's tau. Tapi formula dia sama je. Ini derivation. Tapi saya dah tolong simplify kan. So dia negatif K tau. So if let's say lah kan, macam soalan dalam slide tu, actually dia ada suruh you kira idea PFR, idea batch, idea CSTR. And then finally only they goes to this segregation model. Okay, for a control first order reaction. So let's say you have plot, you have the same data. Okay, so which tau to use? Tau yang kira TM tu kan atau tau yang soalan? Tau you. Because you want to calculate your X using your data. In a closed system, tau is equal to TM. So you punya TM tu data idea kan sebab tak sama. So you punya bukan tahu V over V naught tu. V over V naught tu is the one yang idea. Walaupun dah dia cakap memang lah idea director. Faham? Okay. So, CSTR saya tak ingat lah. Sama dia. Kena tengok. Second order sama je macam tu. XT sama dengan KCA0 T1 plus KCA0 T. Kalau PFR dia tahu. PFR dengan batch sama. CSTR lain. You tengok dalam nota tambahan tu dia dah ada, cuma dia tak adalah macam chapter sebelum ni dia ada buat kotak-kotak. You kena go through satu-satu. Okay? Boleh? Right. Apa kita? That is chapter 4. Dan boleh jawab dulu soalan. Okay? Ha? Apa? Nak buat nombor 1 tu boleh je. Kita go through sikit. Nak? Tak nak? Maksudnya tu tak semestinya soalan ni susah. Dia lately dia dah lenient sikit.
Oh, dia bukan.
Maksudnya tu yang mana?
Jaga kita last year.
Baik.
Okay? Okay, saya break 5 minit. Nanti kurang panas meletup pula. Okay, sekejap. Break.
No. Aku tak tahu.
Saya ni.
Ada break sikit.
Mainstream. Oh, dah ada penonton.
Aku tengok dia tutup tadi.
Saya suka kutuk sudah saya pun. Saya want to end the stream and